Hi everyone, so it's me, Liz, founder of Worth It, creator of many interventions that help prevent the onset of mental health problems in children and young people. And what I do in my organisation, Worth It, is I use positive psychology and coaching psychology, interventions and approaches to create training and toolkits and resources and programs that help prevent the onset of mental health problems in children and young people through ultimately creating positive relationships and connections. And how we do that is either through coaching, teaching people how to coach young people, developing peer-to-peer interventions based on coaching approaches, and also a whole school approach to creating belonging and positive relationships. So I've come across this research last week, so I thought I'd make a YouTube video on it. It's very exciting for me to see new research that backs up stuff I've been thinking for absolutely years. I'm going to say longer than 15 years I've been having this thought about how if we improve the quality of connections and interactions within an organisation, then we're improving people's wellbeing and resilience. So that's basically what this study is saying, and it's got a really good model. So I'm going to go through the model and explain how our programs fit with that model. So in this article, it's saying that there's a stark rise in rates of school suspension for up 31% in spring 2022 to 2023, and we're seeing a legacy of issues caused by the pandemic. I mean, no shit, could have told you that was going to happen when you took teenagers out of schools and took away all their support networks, but that's by the by. Obviously, young people are going through a developmental stage where belonging to the peer group is more important than being with adults and being isolated. So if you take children and young people away from the ability to form connections and relationships during this critical developmental stage, it is going to have a negative impact on their ability to cope and manage situations and form effective relationships. And the more they feel that they're not able to form effective relationships, the more avoidant they're going to become because it feels uncomfortable and difficult and fearful. So part of that we're seeing with either difficult, challenging behaviour that's resulting in them becoming suspended, or also school avoidance and absence and just not wanting to be there. I mean, why would you want to be there if you can't cope with it? Anyway, so this article explains all of that. And that in most of the schools that have a higher rate of suspension, there's a lot of children from socially disadvantaged backgrounds that are eligible for free school meals. And it links that it's going to have impact on attainment levels, jobs and mental health. So it's vital that we understand how many children are out of mainstream school and how we can get them to re-engage in school. Like, in order, from a mental health and wellbeing perspective, young people, there's some research from years ago, I covered it in my master's, but it's saying that in order for a young person to have good mental well-being, they need a good connection to school and good connection to the peer group in equal measure. So we need to help them engage in school and have positive connections and relationships with peers as well. That's how we protect their mental health and help them learn the skills and strategies to improve well-being and resilience. Um, so this study has come out of using data from 2018 to 2019 School Quality Index, and and a research organisation called the FFT, Education Data Lab, and they looked at schools that scored highly on the index that of those that accept children with high rates of social disadvantage. So there is a correlation for schools that experience more higher rates of social disadvantage that also experience attendance and absence and suspension and exclusion issues. And those who've got higher, so additional needs of the young people in those schools, and they also looked at the schools that have got this high social disadvantage and high additional needs, but also relatively low exclusion rates and absent rates. So obviously they're doing something right. So they wanted to understand, what are they doing well? So how can we do more of it? And they selected 6 high-ranking schools in the study to take a look at that. And they didn't all follow the same practices. While some schools did not exclude pupils, others retained exclusion infrequently, but sometimes as a necessary discipline practice. So it is sometimes happening, but sometimes not, but not as much as in other schools that are seeing a rapid increase. So they were able to identify consistent themes across the schools that emphasise fostering a sense of belonging. Any of you that watch any of my videos or do any of my programmes will know I talk about a sense of belonging until the cows come home. So, I love this model. I'm going to talk through this model in relation to my approach. Okay. So I don't know who the 6 schools are, and I don't know if any of them are the schools that might have potentially worked with us at Worth It. That would be nice to know. I hope I hope some of them are. But anyway, what we've got here is a foundational core of what I would call policy process in place that enables a positive culture of belonging and connection to facilitate well-being and resilience. That's my language that I use in my programs. So what we've got here is relationships between every child, a culture of value, inclusion and equality where individual differences are recognised and that everyone's accepted, and restorative practice. So out of all of those things, the only thing we don't specialise at Worth It is restorative practice as an approach. But what we do specialise in is using coaching psychology approaches to help form positive relationships, and either at an ethos and culture level where there's a culture of empathy, there's a culture of trust and acceptance and belonging and safety, like psychological safety, to be able to make mistakes and not be punished for it, and also that we have a values-led approach where your school identifies core values and helps work towards everybody understanding what those values mean and working towards them and being inclusive. So one of the programs that we do that helps with that is Wellbeing Ambassadors. So Wellbeing Ambassadors is where the children or young people, because I've got 2 programs, a primary one and a secondary version, are trained up to lead wellbeing interventions in their school. And depending on, so it's coaching based, so you're coaching the students through the program to come up with their own action plan and ideas. And if those students then decide there's a stigma in our school about mental health, or there's toxic masculinity, or there's misogyny, that's a couple of things that have come up lately, there's racism, we feel fearful to come to school, or there's a stigma around how we ask for help, because if you're seen to be asking for help, everyone is going to pick on you or laugh at you. They can then really start to pinpoint those core issues that the staff might not be aware of. They might be going under the surface a little bit, that are preventing the students from feeling that they belong to school and they feel safe to come into school or they want to be there. And if you're feeling unsafe and dysregulated all the time, then you're going to fly off the handle quicker and do things that then could result in detentions and suspensions and eventually exclusion. So we want to create this safe atmosphere. So your wellbeing ambassadors can work with SLT and share with them pupil voice and say, these are the things that matter to us, and these are the things that we feel are not happening, and this is our plan of how we want to fix it, and this is what we want to do. And we want to do assemblies, and we want to help year 7 transition so they feel settled and build that strong foundation for when they first start school. So that's how, and then we also have a Wellbeing Club, which is a leadership program for senior mental health leads or school leaders, where they learn how to create and lead change around developing this wider school ethos from a staff and leadership perspective, and how that then gets embedded in the curriculum, but also how wellbeing ambassadors can then be the pupil voice intervention to feed into that. So then we have enablers, so the factors that then enable this school belonging culture to continue. So that leadership that I just mentioned, which is transformational, and it isn't about doing a million things and changing everything. It can be as simple as changing one thing a year. Like this year, our folks, like some of the most successful schools that we've worked with, have done things like focused on active listening for a year. Everyone's gonna do CPD on active listening. We're going to learn what it really feels like to listen to each other as staff and to listen to our students and to understand their needs so they feel heard and understood. And they do that for a year. And then the impact of that is phenomenal. Or they work on trust. So we're going to model trust. We're going to discuss what trust means. Everyone's going to feel that they know what trust is. And not every person's going to have their own version of trust and trustworthy behaviour, so we can recognise and build trust in one another and as a whole school community. Or empathy or compassion or whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, it's something that's going to enable this culture of belonging. So that you're doing that, and you're doing it consistently across every layer of your whole school ethos. And if you're interested in my whole school model, I'll link it above, and you'll see the whole school system model, where everything links to each other. But what you want to do is pick one strategy and implement that across every layer. Leadership, staff development, curriculum, targeted intervention, working with parents, everything uses that one thread, that one strand throughout, and then you weave another one in, and then you weave another one in. So professional trust, that would look like psychological safety, and that staff feel able to voice their opinions, make mistakes, the leaders are fallible, they share, people feel safe to be autonomous and make decisions. There isn't this high stake accountability and scrutiny culture. So this is where the staff autonomy and competency come in, and that relatedness, which is self-determination theory. Links to the community are also important for developing belonging and the family connections. Deliberative, making sense and diverse perspectives. Oh, I like that. Not quite sure what that means, but that that you're involving key stakeholders and taking on board different perspectives. Communication and joined up working, getting people bought into the change, to the transformation. Consistency and flexibility, that's so important when leading change and creating a culture of belonging. People are dynamic beings, and it needs to be a flexible culture that enables them to change and grow and flourish. What we want to do is create the core foundations that then become self-sustaining, and then they don't need for you to put so much work into them all, because you've got these simple things that you're doing that then enable it to emerge. It's called emergence, emerge out of the core foundations that you've got. And once you've got an emergent culture, it kind of self-contains itself and self-manages itself. I've gone on a tangent. Committee governance. It's a bit abstract, some of the stuff I'm talking about. That's why wellbeing in schools is so hard for people to understand, because they want it to be tangible and simple, like let's do an inset day and let's put biscuits in the staff room. But does that really create this culture of belonging where pupils feel safe to come to school, and they don't want to they feel safe and emotionally regulated and able to communicate, and that they belong there and they're valued as individuals and they matter, so that they don't want to play up and they don't want to get in trouble, and they don't need to use these unhelpful coping strategies that are resulting in them getting suspended. So the key areas of effective practice are effective pastoral support, early help, safeguarding, and multi-agency working. That is what we do at Worth It. Early intervention. Early intervention. Don't be firefighting. The schools that I speak to come to me because they're so tired of firefighting and they are burnt out. And when you aren't able to zoom out and look at the bigger picture and actually be proactive rather than reactive, that's where it just builds up and builds up to this unsustainable pressure cooker, and the young people experience that, and then their behaviour that's when it impacts on their behaviour. It's like a vicious cycle. So then we have positive behaviour, inclusion and exclusion practices and processes that are fair and shared and understood. Teaching and learning and curriculum, in my opinion, that's where we have a curriculum that teaches positive relationships, strategies for well-being and resilience. I've got courses on how to do that. Student voice, parents and community, that's where your wellbeing ambassadors come in with the student voice programs. Staffing and CPD, in order to get everyone on a consistent shared understand why is belonging important. Do you belong as staff? If you start with your staff team and help them belong and feel connected to school, it is going to ripple out to the students, because it's two sides of the same coin and continuous improvement. I love this bit. First, we found human relationships held a great importance in creating a sense of belonging for students in all 6 case study schools. Students were seen, known, cared for, understood and supported in ways which best met their needs, leading to an inclusive environment for everyone at the school. That's just, if every school could achieve that, it would transform everything. It really would. And it's the life outcomes of those young people that go to your school. It's my aspiration that young people and children go to a school, and just by being there, it promotes their mental health and protects their well-being and promotes their mental health. The school environment itself is the intervention. It's not all about put them on a CBT course and refer them to CAMHS. Going to school protect them, and it's entirely possible if you know what to do. And it's not even that hard. It's quite often the simplest tools and techniques that you need to know what to do, but it's a consistent, embedded approach that is continually improving and iterating, but also everyone knows their part in that process. And that's the hard part, because people don't like change and people resist change. So that's my two penneth worth on this lovely diagram. We do have different workshops and programs about everything I've talked about, relating to the work I do and how that would complement this model. Yeah, if you want to find out more, either join Wellbeing Club, our senior mental health lead training program about basically how to create school belonging is essentially what that's about. Or if you want to look at interventions for young people, Wellbeing Ambassadors. And also, if you want to learn how to work directly one-to-one with young people and help them feel safe to belong and help get them back into school, then the course for that is our coach training course. So that's it from me today. I'll see you again soon.